Hello, YouTubers. Okay, so this is, this one's going to be a little bit different. A lot of the same, but a little bit different. Okay, so I watched a feller talking, and now this is completely unsolicited, for the record. And I'm supposed to tell the joke. Okay, so we was down in Florida working, and we were doing hot tar. There was the ground guy that we hired to do the. He had a couple guys with him. There was like 3 or 4 guys, and they didn't hardly speak English. And the Miguel, he ran the kettle, and he would say half a day, full day, no 3/4 days, because the guy I was working for at the time, he would do a 3/4 day. And instead of working till dark, like he'd quit at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then he'd pay you for 3/4 of a day, not a whole day. And I remember Miguel out there, and as work was slowing down towards the end of the project, and some smaller projects coming up, he didn't understand English very good, so he'd say, "I am Miguel. I am working." And it just sounded so funny. Like, it sounded like he was telling the boss, "Hey, I'm coming to work tomorrow. I don't care who else ain't." It's the way it come across to someone like us. But he was just asking. But it was so definite. And by the way, it worked because the boss, Chooch Chuckaluck, James Chuckaluck Jr., Choochie, he's passed since, Lord rest his soul. He was a good guy. Went from carrying hot to running a crew. A real inspiration of a man. And there's a lot of stories there. Anyways, shout out to James Chuckaluck. This guy, when we stand out there, we go, "I am Miguel. I am working." So like that's been an ongoing joke for the last 15 years of my life. And so my boss, to this day, my wife will call. She'll be like, "Hey, babe." I'll be like, "I am working." So that's a big waste of everybody's time for 2.5 minutes. Get your coffee. It's going to be a long one. We're going to take over the world for Jesus, right? And by we, I mean everybody that's ever, read the Bible. So, a man asked for a comment, and in giving the comment, I stumbled onto something, and I was thinking, and I think everybody in the United States for the last 20 years has been doing this, but it's not coordinated. So I'm going to read this. This is a comment I left on a guy's Patreon, and hopefully I'll be able to send this video to him where he can just see this. He's probably irritated I'm still talking so long instead of getting to the point. Sorry about that. I'd really be interested in your thought about a property in just north of Denton, Texas. On the map, you will see I-35 in the DFW area, and it comes together in Denton, and I'm north of that maybe 11 miles and off of I-35 by 4 miles. Strong resources in the neighborhood. Families currently, most have prepared for a month, some for years, and few have dedicated arsenal outpost. I mean Atlas bunker, Hilo, Gatlin on a Polaris for intrusive feral hogs and coyote coordinated hunts. Nighttime zones to stop farming damages. Many have horses and barrel races, etc. I'm expecting to be overrun at Unity. The location in a grid down is just ripe for 80,000 plus to be walking north out of the glow zone in DFW. I've made the decision to stock and house other stocks so that they can come and stay in the little event and grab and go in a big event, whatever happened appropriately. But that's not the big crowd I'm expecting. honestly, it's the people I've never met that's my concern. Again, I've decided to help them, not fight them in defense of my swamp. Shrek voice. It's my swamp! Yeah, I ain't gonna be like that. I ain't gonna fight them. I'm just, how do I help them? Due to the numbers, it's hide or fight or share. And in the case of share, thinking smiley face, and be the hands and feet coordination of the masses and their beneficial resources brought and the needs met by employing the individuals. So the thought here is, okay, let me back this up. Let me back this up and clear this up. I ain't doing this right. I'd be interested to know. Okay, so Unit T is like north, like where I-35 comes together. You go 11 miles, and then you go east or west about 4 miles, somewhere in that 8-mile circle. There's a place called Unit T. Now the neighbors in the neighborhood. Now I don't know all these people. I'm a truck driver. I'm all around. There's been new people move in, people move out. There's Cattlemen's Association. Some of my people to the north, they actually are farmers and on the volunteer fire department with Valley View and stuff like that. So there's every now and then, like the coyotes and the wild pigs, they get out of control, and these guys will get together and they'll do a coordinated zone, because you can't just take care of the pigs and the coyotes on your farm, because they just run across the fence. So you got to get everybody involved, because these pigs are out here, just as fast as you plant the cord, are coming along here eating it up. And the coyotes are, eating up the sheep and stuff like that. So you gotta plan out the zone and have a hunt for the whole entire zone at one time. And some of these guys are pretty serious about it. And I mean helicopter, shoot the pigs at night from the side of a helicopter kind of guys. And I've never done this, but I think that you could take a tour with them and go hunt these pigs and shoot these pigs wearing nods from a helicopter. And yeah, like they turned it into a business. Like, if you want to prepare for the apocalypse and, save the farm type of deal anyway, like one guy's got a Gatling mounted to the top of the Polaris, so you stand in the back of it and you just squeeze off on I think his Gatling's a 22. He's got the one that I heard of, maybe, allegedly. There might be one with a 50 cal, single, or semi-automatic 50 cal, and then the mount, it fits all of them. It's just the mount, but the one they use on the 22, it'll take down the coyotes. And yeah, you got more trigger time with that, because the squeeze is less expensive. Used to, it was ridiculously cheap. It's like, how could you do this so cheap? But it's one round per barrel. So because it's got the rotational, they can't do nothing about it. It's not a machine gun. There's nothing about. There's no fancy, super safe trigger or anything like that. It's just one shot, one barrel. But the barrel's turning pretty darn fast, and it is it's prosperous. When you got a herd of pigs, but the 22 one ain't chambered high enough. The other one is 7.62, and that will take a pig down. You put 47 rounds into a crowd of pigs in a second or so, about 1/1000. You just shot 47 times into these pigs. Yeah, it gets expensive fast. So you want to crowdsource this deal, but then the neighbors need to know that this is going on, whatever like that. So they do this where I'm from. There's groups that, they actually do this. Okay, so I do not. I'm on the road all the time, but they are there doing stuff like that. So it's not like they ain't real likely to run away. I'm just going to say that. Like, they're probably not going to run away. Anyways. I've thought about this, okay, and because of the location of like Raytheon, that's where I figure, which I think most of that's closed right now anyway. But I delivered down there one time. I was like, oh shit, this is not that far from my house. So I looked at the flash and the all this kind of stuff. Not the Tsar Bomba, but a smaller nuke. And then they're probably going to hit it DFW. I would guess they're probably going to try 15 to 30 times, and like 7 will hit. And depending on where I'm at, I'm thinking we'll feel the wind off of it, but I don't think anybody's going blind. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're just real unlucky. You know what I'm saying? So in that situation, you know, people are going to be walking out of there. And that's where I'm figuring, you know, I would not be surprised to see 80,000 people walk up I-35 trying to find shelter and stuff. And then when it's, when I'm thinking about this, you know, it's like, that's where I'm at. Like, let me finish reading this comment. Again, I've decided to help them, not fight them, in defense of my swamp. Shrek voice. Due to the numbers, it's hide or fight or share. So like I can defend my swamp type of deal, and just like, you know, you can't sit here like on the bus with Forrest Gump. You can't sit here, move along, or whatever. Or I can just pretend I'm not home. You know what I mean? I can just sit back, let the dogs encourage people to not come on, and then if they try to come on, at that point, like, pretend I'm not there some more, and then, like, freaking yard gnomes unite. Surprise! Shouldn't have been trespassing here. Okay, and that seems like it's got a lot of federal penitentiary attached to it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go to prison. You know, just because the grid went down, law did not stop. And I'm required by God to not murder people, especially because I don't want to share my Cheerios. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I come to the conclusion to just share, right? And then I figure, you know, when I was down and out, what did I need more than anything? Purpose. So if I take these people in, okay, traumatized victim of the apocalypse, go over here and, you know, like dig a hole, and you go over here and, like, you know, fry these potatoes. You seem strong. Stand out there by the road and make sure nobody's attacking us or whatever. You know what I mean? And coordinate and employ as they come in, and, you know, triage and meet the needs of these people. And one of the needs is purpose. So put these people to work helping the other people that are coming. You know what I'm saying? So like I want to help the person coming become the guy that's helping them coming. I want to be the person that helps the ones that are coming to be the person that helps the one who is coming. Okay, and I suspect that can be done. You know what I mean? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The area that I'm in, the chances of these people walking up to my house being Christians it's probably 50-50. You know what I mean? And the ones that ain't claiming Christ probably know what the Bible is. Okay, be the hands and feet and coordination of the masses and their beneficial resources. They probably got a backpack or something. The resources they bring and the needs met by employing the individuals to ensure the survivability of Unit T and usefulness to help people in the worst situations anyone's been through. How would you do that? Again, the location 11 miles north, 4 miles lateral distance from I-35, Denton, Texas, where 35E and 35W come together. A large or medium or small event. So, like, how bad is it? You know what I mean? Like, you know, are we trading freaking radiation? You know, is there a blanket of radioactive dust all across the land? Or is there, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like a massive fire. You know what I mean? And, Or maybe it's a local event. Maybe my neighbor's house burned down. I'm just like, hey neighbor, you can sit here till you figure it out. I've done a considerable amount of work, and I personally have alternative locations for my family, but I'm thinking Outpost and Link of the Underground Railroad style good guy outpost. Alright, so I'm terrible. I think a lot faster than I talk, and I type even slower than I talk. So for me to get out of here on the device to send is incredibly difficult. Which, I mean, while I'm building skills, Skip, why don't you work on typing? Okay, so why don't you proofread this shit before you send it, Skip? Have alternative locations for my family, but I'm thinking Outpost and Link. So an outpost, you know what I mean, like you know, it's I don't want to say FOB, but I guess it would be a forward operating base, like just a base, you know, a safe spot. And then a link of the Underground Railroad. Okay, so like a bunch of these. Everybody that's been, ever since that show Doomsday Prepper came out, people have been thinking about this. And then before that, they were thinking about it. And then before that, they were thinking about it. All the way back to, I think, the First World War. Ever since industrialized warfare has came about, somebody has said, oh shit, they can mechanically come in here and smash us out to the point that there is a mass casualty in the millions of dead people. Okay? So, what did the French resistance look like? What were their safe houses like? And stuff like that. You know what I mean? And like, if there was some kind of a channel developed to talk about these things and be like, hey, here's like bona fide how the French resistance operated type, you know what I mean? And just look at a series of resistance. What was the underground like? And what did they do? What worked? What didn't work? What was their structure like? How did they do their passwords? Stuff like that, you know? For myself, you come to my house in a situation, I'm going to tell you Jesus jokes and identify the fish. Okay, so I'm out here on this road figuring out who I can witness to, but I'm also seeing who I can depend on because I'm hedging my bets. If you know Jesus and you're a Christian and you're a Bible type person and I can tell you jokes and you understand and you know what to do with your hands, you know what I mean? And I'm just having a good time. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dusty Slay. I lost my place. So these code words to be able to link up with others like-minded. You know what I'm saying? Like a foreign fighter comes over here because we're in America. You can't look at this dude. I mean, he looks like a duck, but he might be a chicken. Like he looks like he's from a foreign land because everybody in America looks like they're from somewhere else. And then once you get away from a uniformed military into a grid down neighbors helping neighbors situation, what does that look like? You can't tell who's who looking at him. This guy could look like the worst person in the world and he'd be the best friend you ever had in your life. You're going to find that out real quick if you know the Bible. And if they know the Bible. That you're hedging your bet. It's like when I went to church and everything. I was there to help the church, don't get me wrong. But I found my wife at church. And one of the big things about my wife that I love so much is that she goes to church. So if I assemble at these churches, I don't know, perhaps these outposts could be a church. You got your main meeting hall and stuff like that and everything else like that, but do you have a men's accountability group where you guys get together and say, hey, did y'all leave your phones in the truck? Okay. Now, when it goes down, Billy, Ralph, we're going to Jack's house. Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And Jack's house is fucked up. We're going over here to Billy's house. You know what I'm saying? And that whole thing like that. Okay, now, people been doing that. Hopefully, the right hand don't know what the left hand's doing. And every Baptist church member has an arsenal and a freaking root cellar, and they stacked it to the rafters in the garage with all necessary goods, especially tires. That probably happened. The probability of that happening in the South is that happened for sure. Okay. And the funniest part is like the guy that has none of that is freaking MacGyver. You know what I mean? So, Mr. Guy walking down the road, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't prepare because you're poor. Please come stay in my garage and fix everything that's falling apart. You know, like, there's a place for you here. So that gets into skills. Okay. I've done a considerable amount of work, blah, 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 this and that. Okay. Where was I at? I've done a considerable amount of work, and I personally have alternative locations for my family. But I'm thinking outpost and link of the Underground Railroad style good guy outpost. Water is the serious concern. It's Texas, right? But the lake is not too far, but a serious issue, impossible under drone surveillance and attack. Okay, so you made it this far, so you can probably breathe. You know, you need to breathe, you need water, then you need food. So breathing, can you breathe? Obviously, you've walked up here. Or hopefully you drove up here with your, semi-trailer full of resources willing to share it. So, that's not very likely. But in that case, you know what I mean? Like wherever these things hit, there is going to be somebody at the edge that is going to bug out, and then they're bugging out, they're going to freak out, run out, now they're stuck. Okay, so if there's these locations already in place, and like what's the network look like for that? That's what we need to be building. You know what I mean? That's what we need to be building. You know, it's not me and my family's going to shelter in place, or we're going from here to there, or whatever else like that. Like, you've been forced to bug out, you and your family. What if, you're just like a member of the Gold Pan Association, or the Cattlemen's Association, or the Campgrounds of America, and you have your map with those locations on there. You know what I mean? What's your association affiliation like? You know what I mean? So if we railroad this thing, underground railroad this thing, French Resistance style, you know what I mean? Bill Bathman smuggled Bibles behind the Iron Curtain. They smuggled Bibles into Eastern Germany. Like, that's what the guy was doing. Like, he would drive his car over there. They would walk down the hall. They'd knock on the door, walk this way, walk back, knock again, a certain number of knocks. If that passed the test, once they came into the room, the guy would say, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" This and that. They turned the radio on after they asked the guy to pray. "Hey, will you pray for me?" And the way the guy prayed, he knew whether or not the dude was the Gestapo or not. And then they would turn the radio on, and if they were at a certain level past the cornfield communications, if they said it right, then they would talk. If they did not, they would take them to the side and be like, "Hey man, here's the scoop." And they'd give them a bunch of inconsequential information. Because they knew they were cops. So they gave them information, but they didn't give the information that was, you just knew what level. The same thing went on with the guild. The guild. And you walk up and shake a man's hand. The way you shook their hand is the way that you knew who they was. So, anyway. Here's a side note here. Side note, my wife believes the rapture is before this. It says thus, but I wrote this. This damn thing changes my words all the time. I know that the internet is changing the words I write. I wrote, proofread, made sure it was right, post it, read it, it's right, look at it the next day, and the words are changed and misspelled. So 12, 13 hours later, this thing is coming back and changing the word, the writing in the comments on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I am the targeted enemy, and I am aware. But I don't know if you guys are aware or not, because I don't know who's watching this. So, you know, we got a stage 4 paranoia going on with that, or it's really happening. And I got screenshots to show that it's really happening, because when I tell my wife this, it sounds fucking crazy. So I'm like, look, here it is right here. Remember that time I told you that crazy shit? Look. See what I'm saying? So I'm not going to get on here and say a bunch of bullshit. I'm going to get on here and tell the truth. That sounds crazier than hell. And I know that. So there's no room for me to lie and bullshit. I just got to tell you the straight of it as best I can. I may be incorrect on some of the details or whatever like that, but I'm going to tell you the straight of it best I can. And it's entertaining, right? Side note to the side note, if I appear crazy and they take me before the tribunal, I may be able to... It ain't my fault. I had a psychotic episode. It wasn't me. It was the other me. That's a joke for the record, if you can't tell. Side note, my wife believes that the rapture comes before this, so I'm selling the idea to her as, honey, we need to give the left behind people every possible resource for success and repentance. So if you're a married guy out there, and you're walking around in church on the wrong day, and you know it, and you got to just do the best you can to keep peace in the house. Keep doing the best you can, you know, stay married, and you'll win them over with your diligence. So, if she thinks if you're around people that think there's going to be the rapture, then you can say, well, it doesn't matter what you leave behind, but if one left and one stayed, what are you leaving for your neighbor? When you're standing in front of Jesus explaining your life and your choices and everything else like that, are you so selfish that you thought you were going to be in a rapture? That you didn't prepare for the ones that didn't make it because they don't believe it? What about the guy that got left behind? Are you chicken shit? So, what if it's not the rapture? What if it's just the collapse of your country and just everything's falling apart around you? Because statistically, the rapture hasn't happened and the apocalypse hasn't happened yet. Many countries have fallen. Like all of them, except for the ones in power right now. And they're like teetering on the edge constantly. So, so what you suggest would be greatly appreciated, and I can't be the only person with this opportunity and circumstance. Okay, so the opportunity and circumstance is, here's Unit T in a location just outside of a metro to the point that suburbs are becoming farmlands. So farmlands have things like oil wells, silos full of grain, big churches, people with substance. A lot of the cities, you get down inside of there, there's a certain amount of whatever, and then as you get into the suburbs, there's people, you know, like you're living and you got the small house and you're close to town or wherever else like that. Then you move to the suburbs and raise your kids and stuff like that. But some of these people go all the way out into the farming lands. So once you get into the farming lands where the houses are, you know, a mile apart, that's a little bit further than where I'm at. Where I'm at, it's 5-acre sections. And just north of me, it gets into the hundreds of acre sections. And there's a little bit of both spread out. So when the power goes out, most of these people ain't going to have no water, right? So, like, my next move is to get a water truck, and it has to be an old truck with a new water system. So I'm looking for a truck that is mechanical diesel, so I can drive it after the grid goes down or whatever like that. And then some of the neighbors have wells, so I got to be able to manufacture my own fuel to drive the truck to the lake to suck up the water and then come back to Unit T where we can run it through the filtration and everybody get a shower and something to drink type of deal. The other option is to have the stuff necessary at Unit T to set up at the boat ramp. So that's another consideration I did not put in here, but there should be a active church water program where everybody, pass the hat, let's pitch in and let's get what it takes to set up a revival tent at the lake and do refugee camping style type of stuff. You know what I mean? Because if they say ain't nobody coming and all this other kind of stuff like that. So what does it look like if the local churches all got together and had a revival tent, and this week, it's this group, and this week it's the next group, or whatever else like that. And then if they just had a water truck for making roads, it just sucks out the water out, and it just runs it through a very basic filter out of the lake, and then it just drives down the road just spitting it out. Well, what if you just pulled up if you had a route, kind of like the propane truck, and you just drove over there, and they got a freaking water trough for their horses or cows or whatever right by the road. You just pull up there in your truck and dump the water in there straight out of the lake and go to the next one. So it's the same way you'd have your trash can out here for the trash truck, you got your water can out here for the water truck. You know what I mean? Because in grid down, we're going to just burn the trash. And there's going to be a lot less trash because we ain't buying all that bullshit, with, a brown paper sack with a paper French fries and another, sandwich in a box, and that sandwich has a piece of paper and it's inside a box. It's just like, they package everything 15 times. I don't know what the deal is with that. But, yeah. So, okay. So what your suggestions are good, whatever. How to Unit T and establish a suburban, or in my case, semi-rural situation. So, I just now thought about the water truck. That's not on here, by the way. But the thought is, there's all these people walking out of DFW. My wife's going to be raptured, and I'm going to be on the road somewhere, so I got to walk home in the apocalypse. Seems like it'd be pretty nice if I established a underground where I could go from town to town to town, and I'm well known enough to show up and be like, hey, how can I help? Oh, and I help and do whatever and earn a sandwich, get some water, and continue walking to the next one. Seems appropriate to me. I may or may not have already done this inadvertently without even knowing it. I can neither confirm nor deny that due to the lack of classification on a random ass YouTube video. If you inspire yourself to develop this outline, you can market it to a complete channel and charge for the training collaboration with Bear and his resources, and just think tank it and publish. So that's if this guy Viking Preparedness, and I think the guys over at SOE, I think if they got together with Bear and Jocko Willink, and I can think of a few others, but I mean it would just be like the dream team of the preppers. You know what I mean? The Militant Amish Association of America. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, you got your small, medium, large category of problem, and then via, good dude association, where you get vetted to be a part of this thing, you know. If there was these outposts set up at each town, and I think it's a Christian thing, I'll be honest with you. I think it's been done. What I'm talking about has been done throughout history. I think it's the reason why there was a castle. I think there's a reason why there was, you know, these walled cities. Like, the outline is all around us, and this device and our, you know, Amazon of things has isolated us and made us vulnerable and weak. Most anxiety that you have when you think about, the grid down deal. For myself, when I think about grid down, I think to myself, you know, what would it be like to live through the Depression? Everybody had a garden, man. You know, you go back and you look at the Hatfields and McCoys. They were pretty much fighting because they didn't get to plant their crops on time. That was a big part of it. And if you didn't plant on time, your family could starve to death. You know what I mean? They were up north up there, West Virginia. So it's a big deal. You know, it ain't like, you know, far Texas. They're harvesting cabbage right now. They're harvesting cabbage. It is December 6th. They're literally cutting heads of purple cabbage out in a field right now. They ain't worried about food. Northern Minnesota is pretty concerned about how cold it is right now. So, anyway, let me finish this thing up. I probably need to do this over. This is kind of chicken shit to waste y'all's time. The channel can have a vetting process for entry so you don't inform the potential enemies, and that can be easily done by a phone call to their pastor. It can keep millions of people alive and grid down. Okay, what happens? What's really going to happen when the grid goes down? Why is 90% of America going to die? Why have I not seen a single "this is how you fucking fix it" video on that? 9 out of 10 people in your family is going to die, according to all these preppers. How in the fuck do you stop that from happening? How in the fuck is there not a national plan to address the fact that 90% of the population will die? I'm a little pissed off about that. I'm a lot of bit pissed off about that. I've asked so many people questions that they just randomly, you know what I mean? Because fuck, everybody I talk to is a stranger. So, like, man, what are you going to do when you got to walk home? Oh, I don't know. They'll be like, they'll say something akin to, I'll figure it out, right? Which, I mean, hey, you probably will. I don't think 90% is the right number. I think 90% does not compute in my head. Either like I'm in denial that 90% of Americans will die, or I just think that they'll figure it out. Something. You know, Jesus, take the wheel on this deal, whatever. I don't know. But 90%, I don't think so. I honestly don't think that. I don't think people are that stupid. And I think the stupid ones are tough enough to figure it out. Because when everybody's lost the distraction, you know, the first month, yeah. By the end of the first month, everybody knows. By the end of the first month, everybody knows. And I'm going to say that the death rate changes drastically after that. Drastically. I think that the people that are mobile, see, this is what I think. When they get to Unit T, by the time they make it to Unit T, there will be mobilized groups. The mobilized groups will be out for plunder. So the ones that are walking in the beginning, by grouping them together, taking them under your wing, because I've grouped people together, I've took under my wing so much, I realize that the average person wants to belong. Okay? And I don't care if that's a roofing crew, a church group, a gang, a whatever. But if you look at how they jump in people into a gang, If you look at how they bring people into the United States military forces with basic training and all that, you got every time you're basically getting your ass kicked, and you took it, and we put you through some situation, and now we can trust you a little bit. Even prison gangs is like that. A little bit of time, then it's like, okay, and you start working it through the levels of ranking within the group, whatever the group is, doesn't matter. So by the time they get to Unit T for the first month, they're going to be walking or whatever, you know what I mean? But the ones after that, they will be organized groups. One organized group comes up to another organized group, says, hey, we got our shit together. Are you friend or foe? How you want to do this? And if there's mutual respect through perceived power, you got a trading partner. If they think they can kick your ass and take your shit, you got a problem. They think they're going to come to Unit T and take my shit, they got a problem. So, perceived power. All right, so if we organize what the fuck is going to happen when this shit goes down, and we organize with the intent of helping the masses. If we're going to be the 10% that live, we're going to have to be strong enough to be perceived as a trading partner. Okay, what the fuck we going to trade? Glad you asked. Anything that we want to grow. We have to produce food, shelter, water security. We have to be able to transport food, shelter, water security. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, I get it. It's tough. But each one of these things, like Unit T, we'll call it the Unit T design, these outposts, right? They should have a small contingent of oxen. Oxen. We need to be able to do the carts and stuff. We need to be packing our military equipment and our physical equipment in axle grease. We need to be building these carts. I mean, I just seen a buddy of mine. He's changing wheel bearings in his trailer right now because they suck. You know what I mean? Like, build a decent wheel bearing for a 16-foot trailer that has, that it's going to be overloaded 5 times more than what the axle is rated for. Fix those bearings, would you? I mean, you got roller rockers in an engine that's spinning at 5,000 RPM for hundreds of hours with no failure. Why can I not go 10,000 miles with my 16-foot trailer without the damn bearings going bad? So, yeah, there's a market for that. And then, do I have extra bearings? And then what happens, we go all the way back to freaking going to the blacksmith. Okay, so, we need to outfit Unit T with, a high-quality files, an anvil, bellows, wood-fired smelting, and ironworks. We need that. Home Depot's going through Chapter 11 right now. How much does the nails cost at Home Depot right now? There's a lot of lumber companies going out of business. Perhaps you could acquire that building and then outfit it to be this outpost. Whatever. You know what I mean? What does that look like? In this video, in this comment, I'm asking the people that know what the fuck they're doing to do it, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just some jackass out here. I think it can be done. I think there could be a organization. I think there could be a fee to join the organization. I think that everybody walking out of the apocalypse could be pre-vetted to know whether or not to let them in the door. A part of that is like, what's your blood type? Like, I don't need your fucking social security number. I need to know how to treat your wounds. Like, are you on drugs, like medication? You know what I mean? What are your skill sets? You know what I mean? I show up at a Unit T, and I'm just like, they're like, what's your name? And I'm like, Bill Johnson. And they look it up, Bill Johnson. And it could be an alias. You know what I mean? Like, I'm Bill Johnson 23409. Hi, everybody's got a BR 549 code named Skipper or whatever. You know what I mean? Hi, I'm Tater Salad. Are you the infamous Tater Salad? Says here, Tater, that you're a B positive kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? Why do we not have a national situation set up for that? And then, like, who's the Johnny on the spot that's got, like, 40 acres and a mule that can, we can crowdsource this deal. Be like, hey, I'm putting in, you know what I mean? And you have a tier level, you know what I mean? Because I would 100% put $200-300 a month into the, GoFundMe Apocalypse Don't Die at unitt.com or fucking whatever. Figure it out. I'll send you $300 a month right now in a heartbeat. I put $100 back every Friday. I've just been stacking that shit for 12 years. You know what I mean? It says don't bury your shit in a hole. So I got some things I've been doing with some stuff or whatever like that. But I mean, you want to talk about convert your money into gold and then sell some silver because it's high right now and buy some crypto or what? How about some subscription to Don't Die? Who would not do that? You know what I mean? Like, who's got the money to do that? And are they affiliated? And to what degree? Because the guy asked a good question about like a week ago. He's like, what if I just showed up at your house? And when he said that, I was like, welcome. That's the first thing I'm going to say. I'm going to say welcome. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to go from the gate to the fence. At a certain point at the fence, if you're cool, you'll make it in. If you're not cool, we'll dig a hole. If I can help you in any, if it's time to hand you a bucket and say, good luck, sir, here's a 5-gallon bucket that's got, oil and beef jerky and a bag of rice and, we'll probably give you the water in gallon jugs on the side. And you carry 2-gallon jugs in your hand, a bucket in the other hand. You still got the backpack you came with. See ya. Move along, sir. This will get you down the road a little ways. I'd do more if I could. You know what I mean? That's a thing. You know what I mean? But they're two elders, and they show up and they're like this and that or whatever like that. Yeah, come on in. Do I have a spot in the shop? Yes, I do. I have a stack of plywood and 2x4s to build additional bunk beds. It's just not assembled right now because it stacks better in the corner of the shop. But I got 1.75-inch plywood give to me because it was sitting outside. I was going to put it in my shop, but I seen some bugs. I was like, I don't know about that. So it's just sitting in my backyard. It's been sitting there for years. I went out there and picked a piece of it up. It's still just as good as the day I got it. It's pre-weathered wood. You know what I mean? But it's thick as hell. And I can slap together some impromptu bunk beds 5 high and have them inside the shop out of the wind. You know what I mean? You got a roof over your head and, there ain't no breeze and there's a water hose to, take a shower in the backyard out in the corral or whatever else like that. That's completely separate from the apartment, completely separate from the greenhouse, completely separate from my house. You know what I mean? And so far, everybody that comes to my house actually stays in my room. Because me and my wife have separate rooms because I snore real bad. And then since then, trying to pay for all this shit, I just live here in the truck. And those mattresses right there are excellent. And that mattress right up there, they have these little Pelican boxes where you cut the thing out, you put the deal in there, and then it like stays in spot. Yeah. How big a Pelican case is that up there? So you pull that little string right there to get it down. See that little string right there? And then all that just flips down. It just flips down. The whole truck has went through the X-ray machine. Passed with flying colors. Either they don't care or they ain't looking at the truck. And that means they ain't looking at that motherfucker that's going to do dirty. And they're out there. They are out there. When you hear these stories about I-20, no, I-40, that's like the kidnapping corridor. That's like the freaking, they say there's thousands. Listen to me. There's thousands of these subbitches snatching people, getting them in the truck, and having their way and throw them in the fucking swamp type of deal. Thousands of them out here. I don't know which one's which. If I find one, you won't know about it. There will be a fed gator. But probably, I don't know. Actually, I'd probably just tie him up and call law, really, to be honest with you. Because I'm not law enforcement. I'm not the executioner. I'm the idea guy. That's it. I deliver stuff, make my way the only way I know how. And it seems like I can't call myself a good dude if I don't set up at least 8, north, south, east, west, and the angles. So that would be 8 unit T's surrounding every metropolitan area at a 30-mile distance. Every metropolitan, everywhere, USA. The Christian outposts at Unit T. Whatever you want to call it. Get that together today and have the association list be what it is at your similar to what it is at your spot. So you're sitting out there on Shofar Mountain and you got a protocol, you know what I mean? And then a bear's sitting over in the woods and he's got a protocol. What does that look like? Why don't we standardize that? Why is that not published in a manner where there's the vetting system, and then maybe a subscription to where I pay in $300 a month to get the map. You know what I mean? I pay in $300 a month. I paid it for a year. Here's a map of locations where, if I show up, my 5-gallon bucket and my 2 gallons of water is there. You know what I mean? Then I show up there what's your name? I'm like, Skip, BR549. And they're like, BR549? That's a 2 gallons and a go bucket tier. And you just hand me my bucket. And my gallon of liberal tears because my fucking Christian self didn't die in the apocalypse like they're all praying. All them Charlie Kirk assassin celebration fucking demon possessed pieces of... I hope they repent. I hope they repent. And then I know right now with Donald Trump and them, you could probably register it nationally. It'd be like, hey, these are good dudes. You know what I mean? And then what if this is a subset of old fat bastards, the Fuds United at Unit T? What if that is a subset of the National Guard? The National Fud. Are you Fud Ken serious right now? So it's the kinfolk. They're the Fuds. It's a subset of the National Guard. So we could have underground armory to support the military in grid down situation so that 90% of America doesn't die. Like, you can do that. Why, if that's not already done, if I'm just some person in a truck sitting in a parking lot on a Sabbath drinking coffee, and I'm the first one to come up with this, bro, I can't be the only person that ever thought of this. Like, it's like, are you seriously prepared? Are you kind of a FUD? Are you Christian, related to the kinfolk, adopted into the fold? Are you FUD kid serious right now? Ready to do something? I'm fitting to do something. Maybe it's because I'm in Tuskegee, Alabama. Let's look outside. From the window to the wall. I'm fixing to have to do this workout when the sun goes down. And there will be sweat dripping off my forehead. Oh, but man, let's be serious now. Let's be serious. Okay, I hope this is slightly entertaining, because, like, somebody put this on Trump's desk, man. Somebody put this on Trump. I'm not even kidding you. Send this to Pete Hegseth. Get this to Jocko Willink. I gave his book away to some guys with the National Guard earlier. Like, I'm not this smart. It's not me coming up with all this stuff. It's inspiration from the Holy Ghost. I'm telling you right now. Behind closed curtain? Okay, right now. Let's get serious here. What's that joke? Before they say something racist, they'll get real quiet. Okay. Boo Slim's trying to kill us. They chanted death to America for 40 years. Okay? If we don't get together on this deal, they're going to rape our women and children. For real. And they'll probably make you watch. So, we're going to have to kill them. Alright? They're rabid dogs, and there ain't enough. The climate change, you have to remember the climate change, the political climate change. We have a window of about 2 years to set this up and get this in motion to where, if it goes bad, there's options. And I don't need to know what those options are. I just need to know how I can contribute to this thing with blood, sweat, tears, cash. And what's the return on this thing? You know what I mean? Is there going to be some place for my wife and children to not be molested and raped because you're willing to lay down your life for them? And then I, in service to this, will become one of your truck drivers. And you can put me in the truck, and I will drive the resources from one place to the other, because that's what I freaking do. And I'll turn off this ELD and get her done, son. I can actively stay in motion 22 hours a day for 7 days. That's a fact. Can't guarantee I won't tear the truck up. Anyways, let's what is a unity? What does that look like? How can we be completely separated from anything government because of political climate change? And how can we be certified domestic good guy, not terrorist, good guy? Hey, what does that look like? What does that look like? What's the difference? You know what I'm saying? It's like we're, Amish in the city, we're a, supporting member of the National Guard somehow. What does that look like? And then how can we give them the cushion of we're affiliated? Like there's got to be a way to contribute and be affiliated without them being liable for our bullshit, because somebody out there's gonna fuck it up, right? I mean, like, come on, man, somebody's gonna have a mistake made, and when that happens, what does that look like? That kind of stuff. And that all goes with vetting. So, who is this crazy motherfucker out here that would use this nefariously? Different here. That might be a BR ought not 25. You know what I mean? Oh, it says here, you show up in the apocalypse, and we know you're fucking nuts. You know what I mean? Like you're the fucking Unabomber, probably. So, would you show up? We already fucking know that too. Like, how could you get everybody to sign up for that? The good, the bad, the ugly. Self-preservation. So now, everybody signs up, and they pay to fucking do it. So, they're going to be more serious. It's just like that guy said. He said, he was a motivational speaker. He said, if I give you tickets, you won't do right. He said he made his mom and dad pay for tickets. And they went the first day, and they're like, fuck this. And the second day, they were like, well, we got to go back. We fucking paid for it. And it turned out that it changed their life, because they didn't want to hear to fucking have a budget. Run the numbers on this deal. What does that look like? You know what I mean? So they call me Preacher Man Skip on the rooftop. Shout it from the rooftops. It's a fun story. You can't make this up. I was in Miami, just off of South Beach a little ways, and I'm on the roof. I got this thing, and I look up over the roof. I'm on the back side. I did roof the front of this house. I'm on the back of it. I'm tightening up this tile going around a chimney. I had to build a little cricket above the chimney, and I got this Ryobi battery powered radio, just a speaker with the 18 volt, and then when my drill would go dead, I would take that battery out, and it still had enough power for the radio, and it didn't take much power out of the one in the radio. So when I went up the ladder with my bucket of stuff, drill, and screws, this, that, and the other, and a deal, so I just swapped batteries. So anyway, I got that battery up there playing, and I stopped. I was getting something to eat or whatever, and I see this guy, and he's got real long dreadlocks. He's got an AK on his shoulder, and he's smoking a blunt. It's about that long, and he's just like this. He's holding it like that. So I knew it was weed, because he's, smoking on it, and he's just puffing smoke, and he's walking down the road puffing smoke, and he's getting a little closer, and he starts slowing down. He's looking around, and I'm just like eye level, like here's the chimney and here's me. You know what I mean? And the song goes off, and then this preacher's like, da, 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 whatever he was saying, but it was like, real, not Malcolm X, but, he was, maybe like a Billy Graham. Today's the day you need to change your life, or whatever. And this guy's just like looking around. And I'm on the roof, right? And then the preacher man gets done talking. And I turn the radio off. This guy's just like, he's looking around. He looks at it, he looked around again. He throws it down, and he puts his gun down by his side, and he just walks back the way he was coming. I don't know whatever happened from it or not, but man, I don't know. That's the whole story. I don't know how I impacted that guy that day. that shit was funnier than hell, man, because I know he thought that God was talking to him. You know what I mean? And later, I'm reading the Psalms, and it's talking about something about shout it from the rooftops or something about the word of God, from the rooftops. I think their houses back then, they had no TV, so they all had a place where they'd walk around up on the roof. They'd look at the stars, chop it up at night, and rest and stuff, have a little family time stuff before they went to bed. And I'm sure the Bible was talking about that, but after that, what is it, like GTA 2 or something, Liberty City? And I'm looking at that, and I see this guy. I'm looking at the cover of this video game, and then I look on the deal, and the actual address is Liberty City, Florida. That's where I was at. Like, I was down there. It was like 2005, and that happened. You know what I mean? And then the game came out, or maybe it was already out, I don't know. But for me, in my timeline, later after that, I seen the cover of this game, and I think I played that game 2 or 3 times where they're just running around being some type of heathen. I was like, I don't need this in my life. You know what I mean? And I got out of the video game stuff long time ago. Anyways, I just thought that was crazy. To see the impact that you have in the world now you're not gonna. You're just not going. You're just not going to see it in its entirety. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen with that guy, because there was 3 transport. I don't know what they call them nowadays, but it's 3 military vehicles, and they was getting fuel. And I told that guy, I made a little short video for the 5-minute ministry, and I told that guy about Jocko talking on the Sean Ryan. I said, man, I learned more than 6 hours about leadership than I have in the last 6 years. And he was like, oh, wow, yeah, I'll check that out. I was like, yeah, let everybody know. Well, they pulled up over here on the side. The fuel island's over there. I get in here and grab some of them Bibles. And I love giving them to the military guys, especially because I'm like, hey, man, if you tear this up, don't worry. I said, this ain't Grandma's family Bible. You know what I mean? This is a tactical, everyday. If it gets muddy, well, you can get another one. They're free. Don't worry about it. You need to tear a page out and hand to somebody. You read it to them, and they're like, hey, that's pretty cool, or whatever. You just rip the page out and give it to them. Say, here, put that in your pocket. Or read it. Remind yourself of that for a while. Hand that page to somebody else. Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes. Don't worry about this. If you just forget it somewhere, okay, no problem. Hey, yeah, it is the Holy Bible, but this is the tactical, everyday use, don't sweat it type of deal. Anyway, I walked over there with 7 of these Bibles right here. These are the ones I got right now. And they're King James Version, so that helps, especially if you're in the South. They need a little thee and thou in their Bible. Can you read that? Is that backwards on y'all's deal? Anyway, yeah. And when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioning them. And straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, saluted, greeting him. And he asked the scribes, what question ye with him? And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which hath dumb spirit, unable to speak. And wheresoever he taketh him, he teareth him, and he foameth and gnasheth with his teeth, and pineth away. And I spake to thy disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. He answered them and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I suffer with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. And they brought him to him, and when he saw him, straightway the spirit tear him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed foaming. And he asked his father, how long is it ago since this came unto him? And he said, oh, since he was a child, and oftentimes it has cast him into a fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us and help him. Jesus said unto him, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. And Jesus saw that people came running together. He rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried and rent him sore, and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, He is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he rose. And when he was coming to the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could we not cast it out? And he said to them, This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. So, that's just randomly opening and reading the Bible. And it's got a lot of thee and thou kind of translational difficulties. The people in this area actually need that. It doesn't seem official without it. So, who you give a Bible to and the way that you give it to them is incredibly important. What is said within the pages is incredibly important. And sometimes the goodness is hidden to make you work for it, because if you don't pay, it don't stick. So like the motivational speaker that charged his parents to come to the speaking about a budget. They went from losing the farm, potentially, and borrowing money constantly, to thriving because they didn't borrow money. Turns out interest is expensive. It's very interesting. I think the interest on my mortgage is approximately $600 a month, and probably $120 on one deal, probably $200 on another, $400 on another deal, and about another $200. So is that 4 and 2 is 6, and 4 is 1,000, and 6. So I'm at $1,600 a month in interest payments currently, and that's not the payments. That's the interest. The percentage of the payments that I make to various situations, just interest, $1,600. So if these things are not producing $1,600, then I got to pay that myself. So from beginning all the way through the implementation process to producing, and then the production, post logistics, and then sales, I can reap about $150 a month so far. No, I'm just kidding. I'm at about $1,800 coming in and $1,600 going out. So that really is where I'm at. I'm at $1,600 going out in interest and $1,800 coming in side hustle. And so if you need $200, if I can send you $200, you can establish a network. And then, you know, if I'm paying you money, you probably know my name and can do like a background check as if I was renting something. And you can do it like that. You can set it up as a real estate situation. You know what I mean? I'm going to rent a bucket of food, and, you know, 2 gallons of water. You know, let's just say, you know, a satchel of food and 2 1-gallon jugs a month for $200, and establish these places. Tier level, terrorist or not, affiliate with the National Guard, subsidize, get some of that DOD CASH on your SHIT for SHTF and network this thing. I think it's doable. I think it's smart. And I think it's a well-regulated militia. Pretty much what they said to do to begin with. So if we're going back to make it make sense and make it work, coming at you, Skipopotamus, Rock Hill. Go get them.